Live from Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park here on 104.5 The Zone. Practice has just concluded. Titans and the Seahawks getting after it in a little joint camp work, and kind enough to sit down here with us at the table after the fact is defensive coordinator Denard Wilson. My man, I appreciate you doing so.
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we have had a wall of fans and Seahawks in front of us that have prevented us from watching your guys' work today against Seattle. So I hate to start the interview off by asking you, hey, Denard, what'd your guys do today? But if you could inform the audience a little bit, because we have had a full view of the offense but not the defense.
Right. We came out. We played physical. We played fast early on. It was a couple back and forth moments, not knowing the offense, them not knowing exactly what we were going to do. But guys competed. We challenged. We took the ball away a couple of times, and ultimately it was just a good day for us.
So with what Seattle presents, and I know that you're obviously familiar with Mike McDonald, who's their new head coach, and this is a playoff caliber team, a team that was in the postseason last year. How good is this for your guys to get a taste of that beyond just the preseason work and see what they're trying to not necessarily aspire to, but kind of test their mettle against?
Well, it's always good to go against other teams or other players. When you sit and you go against your offense all the time, you know their strengths and weaknesses. They understand you. It's good for guys to go out there and compete against players they don't know, work on their tools, their technique fundamentals. And obviously, this team was a playoff team, and it's a good challenge for us to go up there and because that's where we aspire to be.
I have heard so much from guys on your side of the ball how uncanny you are at this job, despite it being your first time being a quote-unquote defensive coordinator. You've obviously been in these meeting rooms for your entire professional career and as well as your playing career, but just to be able to have the respect of these guys right out of the gate at every level, right? You got some rookies, you got some established dudes, and the way that they all seem to gravitate towards you, that has to be gratifying based on, maybe based on hearing a lot of people in the league tell it took a little longer than it should have for you to get one of these opportunities.
Right. Well, for me, it's, I'm myself. I'm genuine every day. We have high standards as a defense, as a team, and I hold the players to that standard. For me, it's all about leadership. I've been preparing myself for this for a long time. I've always aspired to be in this position, and the opportunity came, and, when the opportunity comes, you got to be ready for it. And, we're just getting better. Everybody's on board, and we're attacking the day every day, trying to be the best versions of ourselves.
Where specifically have you seen growth for your unit before we talk about individuals as we've worked through camp? Now you have some preseason action as well under your belts and 1 day of joint training camp practice. What has been the most definitive area of growth that you've been able to determine?
Well, to me, it's the communication. Like, we do a lot on defense, and, we have guys that have gone through it in OTAs and obviously in training camp, and they're picking it up. So I can add more and more. Like, I'm very impressed with how smart this team is. We add things every day, and even as we progress, if they master something, we're adding something different or a different wrinkle. And these guys, they don't waver. They study. They're on top of their stuff, and it's very impressive to see these young men go to work.
Greg Cosell of NFL Films also sitting down with us here at the table as we talk to Titans defensive coordinator Denard Wilson. I had to recruit Greg because I knew he was going to ask a lot smarter questions than I was going to have for you, Denard. Go ahead, Greg.
Well, first of all, you played with my buddy Matt Bowen, right, when you were with Washington?
Yeah, I played with Matt.
Yeah, for a year or so.
Matt was a great player.
Oh, my God. Yeah, he's a good friend of mine because he was on the matchup show with me for 4 years. So he's just a ball guy.
Well, you tell Matt I said hey.
I will definitely do that. The question I really had is kind of an overview question. You wouldn't remember this at all because you were with the Jets when Gase was the head coach, right?
Yeah, and Bowles. I was there with both of them.
Okay, but I know you were with Gase, and I know him well, and he invited me to camp and let me sit in on meetings because Greg was the D coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
And so you played for him too, right? That was in Washington, yeah. So I actually sat in on your meeting, which of course you wouldn't remember. But so I remember a lot of the things you talked about. But given that you've been around a lot of D coordinators, with different philosophies, what do you feel like when you look at how you want to play? Because now you're a DC, you're putting in your philosophy, And again, I'm not looking for going into the weeds. You're not going to tell me your whole game plan approach. But how do you see like an overview of how you want to play defense?
Well, like I say, it's the mindset of being aggressive. We're going to attack when it's time to attack in terms of blitzing. Obviously in this league, you want to stop the ball from going over your head, so we have to be selective. But it'll be a mixture. We'll be multiple. It's no different than the guys I've been around with Todd Bowles and Greg Williams and even Mike McDonald, how multiple the defenses are. We're trying to dictate to the offense every time we come out there. So without giving a lot of stuff away, I have a blend of all those different guys and the way we played and the style of football we played and the things that we did. And I just took all that, and I'm really a melting pot of those that I've learned from.
I assume, again, I've talked to a lot of coaches. I've been fortunate in my career, and it seems that the game has changed. And let's leave third and long aside for the moment, but normal down and distance, you see a lot more RPOs, quick game, where it's hard to get to the quarterback. Mm-hmm. So a lot of defensive coaches that I've talked to now believe that press man has really become a more important part of the game.
Yes.
And obviously by who the Titans signed, in terms of Awuzie and certainly Snead, who's got as much swagger as any press man corner in the league, I would assume that that's a philosophy then in your mind.
Well, yeah, you have to stop free access throws.
Right.
If you're playing off coverage a lot, the quarterback just lines up and just gets it out there, spit it out his hands.
Yeah,
right.
It's fit your catch.
And that's the way they neutralize the rush, especially with
Right.
teams that have elite pass rushers. So for me, yes, it's press unless the call dictates that you off, or at times formations make you, get off. They shrink formations to make DBs get off depending on the coverage. But we're going to press as much as we can. We're going to be up in their face. We're going to challenge. We're going to mix split safety, post safety. We're going to do it all. But I believe in that. If you cause a hesitation on the quarterback and he has to step up in the pocket or he has to hitch, it gives us fractions of time to put him down.
We've talked to you about the construction of your secondary a couple of different times, and as the weeks have progressed, you guys have continued to add different parts and pieces. Of course, Quandre Diggs and Jamal Adams getting the opportunity to compete against their former team, now wearing two-tone blue for the Titans and operating in that secondary. You've got so many different pieces back there, Denard, that allows you to have that multiplicity, that versatility that you're talking about. And I wonder what you're seeing from the depth guys at corner, with Snead being on the management program and Cheeto missing some time at this point, especially today given the joint work that they got.
Yeah, the young guys are getting better. I mean, you got some rookies that's coming there in Jarvis and Gabe, and the list goes on with the safeties positions. They haven't had a lot of time on task playing. So they're getting more reps. And, in this game or anything, you're no stronger than your weakest link. And those young guys are getting better and better and better. So it's going to push us from the ground up. And I like where they're at. Obviously, they're going to have their ups and downs because they haven't played in the league a lot. But give kudos to those vets. Cheeto and LJ are outstanding with these young men. They're not practiced, but they're engaged. They try to take them out. They try to teach them the things that they do. So I just love the unit and where it's going. Just getting them all on the field at once so we can be cohesive is the next phase. And as we get closer to game time, we'll get there. How invaluable is that as a coach for you to have, one, that trust in them and for them to be able to deliver on basically being an extension of you? Right. As a coach, you set the tone, you set the standard, the direction you want to go. But as a defense and as a unit, it doesn't come to life until the players take control of it. And when they understand the way you're trying to attack the day and they have a clear picture of what the vision of the defense is, those guys make it even easier, because the ones that don't want to be a part of the unit, they weed them out. And as a coach, you don't have to weed them out. So I love the guys we have, getting Diggs and getting Jamal in here, both great culture guys, both tough individuals. When I look at the defense, when they go out there, they're all physical. And, I can't wait to see them all play. Titans defensive coordinator Denard Wilson here with us on 104.5 The Zone.
There's one guy that you drafted, and I loved his tape, and I'm sure just hearing you talk about the way you want to be physical and tough and aggressive, and that's Brownlee.
Oh, yeah.
Brownlee was a fun watch on tape. I mean, he played outside, he played the slot. I mean, he was as physical and as competitive as any corner in the draft. It's just, I'm sure the reason he got drafted in the 5th round was that he ran the 4.54, and he's not big.
No.
But, I mean, he was a dog when you watch his tape.
Well, he plays a lot.
I like that word around here, by the way, dog.
He plays a lot faster than
he sure does.
Than his time speed. Yeah. And, ultimately, I came here and said I want a bunch of dogs, and he's a pit bull. All right, so he's a guy that's going to always bite. He's tough. He's tough-minded. But he's another one. He's young. He's learning how to navigate through being a pro. He's learning how to navigate through the system and understanding having full detail. But I love the young man because he can go out and play corner and then go inside and have success at both positions. And that's very hard to do, especially as a young player in this league.
Yeah, no, he was a fun watch, and because I watched him late in the process, just that's how I got to him, and I just remember putting on the tape, and he was really fun to watch.
You saw the same things we saw.
Yeah, he's super competitive.
Yes.
I mean, he's a guy who would strike me that, you know, he wants to beat you up as well as cover you.
Yeah, he has that in him.
Yeah.
Sticking with the rookies, T'Vondre Sweat has obviously been noticeable out here on the practice field. Again, our vantage point today, we weren't able to see the work that he got and the defensive line unit got against Seattle. But Brian mentioned that it was good for him to get out there on Saturday and see what life is like, one, without Jeff and Harold Landry alongside him, and two, also for him to understand the level of physicality that every NFL team is going to bring, no matter how big, no matter how strong, no matter how fast and quick you are.
Right. It was good for him because obviously you come in there and you're a high pick. You still have nerves, right? And he came out there, he was a little bit nervous. Then he went in the second series and he started to play his tail off. Actually, when we took him out the game, he was mad that he was coming out because now he felt like he was settling in and he wanted to keep competing. So that was a good sign, seeing that he didn't want to come out and he wanted to keep playing as he got comfortable. So I love where he at. We're still working, getting him in better condition, being able to string along more plays. But, you see him out there, man. He's a big man. He's quick. He's powerful. He's not just a one-trick pony. And when he figures out how good he can be and how dominant he could be, watch out. I love the directions that he's going. Tracy Rocker does a great job with him in terms of just the mentorship, the coaching, being in his corner, being that father figure. I love where Sweat is at and really the whole group. They're working together and they're a strong unit.
To your point about the group, a lot of hand-wringing, at least externally, about the edge rush situation and what may be pending with Arden as they work through the appeals process on that. But Jalen Harrell getting a lot of work for you guys in not just practice but the preseason game as well. What about his skill set might help him contribute for you guys immediately as you look to determine what your options might be?
Well, first of all, he's very smart. To be a rookie, he picks up things and he executes at a high level. All right. Obviously, there was an approach-style system in Michigan. The thing with him is he's physical on contact. He's really learning how to become a pass rusher. You see him out at practice. He wins the one-on-ones. He had a couple one-on-ones he won a day. I think in the game he was another guy that was a little bit nervous because it was his first outing. And the things that he was doing on a consistent basis, it kind of went away because he was thinking too much. So getting him in that first game and letting him settle his feet, I think that moving on in his next game, provided the opportunity that he plays, he'll be better because he's more confident in his ability and he knows beyond.
So you made a point that I'd love to ask you about because I watched Harold too, and he's at Michigan, big recruit. He's long, he's got good athleticism, but yet you watch his tape and you see flashes, and he's but he's a 7th-round pick for a reason, obviously. Right. So when you say he has to learn how to become a pass rusher, what are the kinds of things you're talking about?
Well, just believing in his get-offs. A lot of young guys, they want to have multiple moves. I mean, in this game, you master one, you get two, and then as you have those two moves or those two rushes, once you master those, you incorporate more. So it's just him trusting himself, really, because the talent is always there. And just like you said, it's all about consistency. And the only time, you get consistency when you work at things diligently and you have people around you that believe in you. And we all, as a coaching staff, believe in him. We believe in where he can go, and we're just going to try to keep pouring, ourselves into him so he maximizes his talent.
Yeah, because I know I've spoken to offensive linemen. I've been fortunate in my career, and they all say that the number one thing is speed to power conversion. That if they feel that a pass rusher can do that, then it changes their whole approach to pass protection.
That's my thing. You want to be able to sit them down earlier.
Right.
If you can sit them down, now you can work every move you want. But that goes back to the mindset. That goes back to being aggressive. Instead of coming off and work a edge, I'm going to go right through your face mask early on.
Right.
And now let me see how tough you are. And then if you test them now, if they're tough, they're going to sit in there and grind it out. If they're not, now you mix the moves, put them on their heel, and then put them on their butt and get to the quarterback.
There you go.
Denard Wilson hanging out here with us on 104.5 The Zone, and we know, of course, that you have things to do, so we won't keep you too much longer. But I do want to ask you about the preseason game, because not like you haven't been on the sidelines and been on the headset before, but this is your first time being the guy, the person with final say. And I'm curious to know how the process went for you guys as a staff on Saturday, and where the things that you liked developed, and how the audience might be able to identify them, and also some areas where you might want to see things cleaned up a little bit.
Well, I think the in terms of the communication with the coaches and on the sideline, I think it was excellent. We have a lot of veteran coaches. We all have been coaching in this league for a long time. That was good. Of course, just like Callie mentioned, just like the players, it was my first rodeo doing it live. So they're always nervous. If you're not nervous, then to me you're not human, in those moments, right? So, it's just buckle in, going back to your training, going back into what you see and what you believe is about to happen. And as the game went on, we kind of settled down. Early on, you didn't like the first drive, but we understand we had young guys out there that were nervous. We had a little bit leaky yardage, not from a scheme standpoint. Guys was overrunning the ball, things of that nature. The biggest thing I learned, and the guys learned from the game, it was all about eye discipline, right? Our eye discipline wasn't good early on, and that allowed certain things to happen, and just being disciplined on where you're supposed to be. The little things in this game matters, right? Just like the little things in life matter. So when they go out there, if they execute, look at the right things, and do all the small stuff, just be where you're supposed to be, then react violent to the ball, then you start making plays. And as they settled in, they started to make plays, and, I sped them up a few times, calling some pressures, but, that's the way we're going to be.
Analytics is a nebulous term, I feel like, for a lot of people. It encompasses a lot of things, but I'm curious to know, given that this organization hired as many data scientists as I think they've ever had on staff this past offseason, how they kind of support you, how the analytics staff supports you as defensive coordinator, and how that delegation of labor works for you guys.
Well, they're outstanding. Like, even going through this preseason process, we're getting all the paperwork. They're coming in talking to us about certain tendencies with this team, like in this certain situation. It's hard to do it right now because of the amount of players that's on the team.
Sure.
So you're not getting the data in terms of, hey, this receiver runs this route or whatever it may be. But they've been excellent. I'll tell you this, man, this organization has been top-notch. I'm excited that I'm here. I love this organization from top down. The vibe in the building is outstanding. People are allowed to be themselves, their authentic selves, and everybody's working in the same direction. And the same direction is to be 1-0.
It's so funny you mentioned eye discipline, because that's one of the things I remember most when I sat in your meeting.
Yeah.
You were the DB coach then,
yeah.
And you talked eye discipline. Obviously it was in camp, so there must have been 20 guys in there.
Well, that's every day for me.
Yeah.
One of my sayings, I say, my eyes is my greatest weapon. My eyes is my greatest defense. If I look right, I'll do right.
Right.
And more time than not, when a player doesn't look at the right thing, that's when he messes up. But if you have the discipline and consistency to look at the right stuff and know what you're looking at, you'll make way more plays than you think.
So do you find that corners and safeties, that's one of their biggest transitions coming from college, because the game's totally different?
Yes.
Obviously the hash marks are different, the splits of receivers are different. Is that a really big transition for guys?
It is huge. The eye discipline is the difference from PBUs and picks. Right? Sometimes, you can watch a college player and be like, he's not a interception guy. But a lot of times he's getting a lot of PBUs because he's not driving through the man, using his eyes to get there to make the finish on the ball. But yes, because those young men, they come out of college, they're so much more athletic and gifted than most. So they can make plays and recover because of their athleticism. When you get to this level, everybody's on the same playing field. So you have to be able to slow the game down by the way you evaluate and process through your eyes. And as long as you do that, the game starts to slow down. And that's how guys in year 2, year 3, they get better and better because they can process by looking at the right things.
Is that what you were taught when you came out of Maryland, when you got to the league?
When I got to Maryland, when I came out of Maryland, I was a high PBU guy.
Right.
I was aggressive safety, but I didn't have a lot of interceptions, and I couldn't figure it out.
Right.
I was like, I see it, I'm like there, but it was the extra step of driving through the man. It was like, it was those, it was the eyes, because I was a smart football player, but did I always have that discipline? No. And then when I got to Washington, Steve Jackson was actually the DB coach.
Right.
And all Steve talked about was eye discipline. And as I started to believe in it, I started to make more plays. And then from my standpoint, the game became easier, even though I wasn't a great athlete like Sean Taylor was at the time.
Right.
So it's huge, especially on all levels on the defense.
Denard, we so appreciate you taking some time. Continued health and success for your guys, and looking forward to seeing how all this plays out this season.
I really appreciate you guys.
That's Titans DC Denard Wilson, and of course Greg Cosell of NFL Films. That's going to do it for us today. We're done at 1 o'clock. Will Levis is on the radio show tomorrow. We'll have a great time with that. Live from St. Thomas Sports Park, I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.